Hello, welcome to the Ben Gregersen Show. Um, there is so much to talk about tonight. All kinds of stuff going on. We've all heard about that plane that's disappeared, and they're still trying to figure out what exactly happened to it. That was pretty crazy. That just boggles my mind. I hope they find out what happened to it, and I hope that the passengers are okay. Um, we're all worried about that, and that's just a bad situation. And then Russia's in the news a lot right now because Putin is trying to take over the Ukraine, and Sarah Palin predicted that if Barack Obama got elected as president, that Putin would take over the Ukraine. Sarah Palin's prediction was right. Democrats, they beat her up. They made fun of her for saying that, but she was 100% right. Barack Obama got elected as president, and Putin is taking over the Ukraine. Just like she said. I mean, all you have to do is turn on the TV and you see that Russia has moved into Ukraine. She was right. And what Putin is trying to do is he's trying to reestablish the Soviet Union. See, Putin, he was a KGB agent for the Soviet Union. So he's trying to bring back that old glory that he felt that the Soviet Union had. And it's scary. It kind of makes you wonder if this is the beginning of another Cold War. Is the Cold War starting over again? And what I find is crazy is in the midst of all of this, America is cutting the size of its military to pre-World War II levels. Well, it was World War II that, turned America into a superpower. We became a superpower after World War II. Barack Obama, he is shrinking the size of our military to pre-World War II levels. I have to wonder if we're going to lose our superpower status. And I think Putin, he wants to become the lone superpower in the world. And that would be a bad thing, because Putin is known for financing Iran and other, bad actors in the Middle East. He's financed terrorist organizations in Iran, and Putin is not a good guy. Do we really want him to lead the world, to become the world's only superpower? Because the actions that Obama is taking is gonna hurt America. We're gonna lose our superpower status. I mean, you can't shrink America's military and its might to pre-World War II levels. If you do that, what happens to our superpower status? Because it was World War II and our military buildup during World War II that really, that's what led America to become the superpower that we are today. I don't know. I think that it's a scary thing, and it shows how weak Obama is. Obama is a weakling. He's the weakest president we've ever had. I mean, President Obama, before the election, he went to Russia and promised them more flexibility. He said to Putin, after he says, this is my last election, and after this election, I'll give you more flexibility. Then we look at what's happening now in the Russia and with the Ukraine. Obama's been reelected. Obama's given Putin that flexibility. And now Putin has grabbed hold of that flexibility, and he's using it to take over the Ukraine. See, Barack Obama gave Putin the flexibility to take over the Ukraine. Do you know what one of the first actions Barack Obama made when he became president? Well, I need to backtrack and tell a little story here before I get to that. But in 2008, Putin invaded Georgia. And President Bush went to all the European nations and got them to put sanctions on Russia. So all these countries, they put sanctions on Russia. And on top of that, President Bush built a missile defense shield just outside of Russia. And we had missiles and stuff outside of Russia in case they, acted out of line and started, trying to take over the Ukraine or something. But anyhow, when Obama became president, he got rid of the sanctions against Russia, and he got rid of the missile defense shield outside of Russia that we put there to keep Putin in check. So now Putin, he's got all kinds of flexibility from Obama, and he's not afraid of Barack Obama at all. I'm gonna put up the phone lines here. If anybody wants to call in and weigh in on this, please feel free. All right, that's not what I wanted. Okay, there's the phone number. Please call in. But yeah, this whole thing going on in Russia, I think that it's scary, and I'm just kind of wondering if we're on the verge of another Cold War. Things sure do seem to be headed that way, but I don't know. I really hope not. But Barack Obama is so weak, Anything he does, Putin is just going to laugh at it. I think we've got that about covered. But if anybody wants to call in about what's going on in Russia, feel free. But I'm going to talk about something Obama said before he became president. Barack Obama went on a liberal radio station before he became president, and he said that the United States Constitution is the fundamental flaw of this country. And he proclaimed that the flaw that is our Constitution continues to this day. So the flaw of America is the United States Constitution, according to Barack Obama. For me, that comment still disturbs me. And I know that Barack Obama actually believes that because of the way he's governed as President of the United States. Barack Obama has violated the United States Constitution time and time again. And lately, he's decided that he's a lawmaker. Our president thinks that he is part of the legislative branch. See, we got something in this country called a separation of powers. It's in the Constitution. The Congress makes the laws. The Supreme Court interprets the law. And the President of the United States enforces the law. Well, President Obama, he's decided that he's a lawmaker also. See, it's not just Congress that makes laws anymore. The president does too. You know, President Obama is misusing executive orders. President Obama has gone out there and signed executive orders that are essentially laws. And an executive order is not supposed to be a law. An executive order is an action that only affects the executive branch. It is not a law that governs the entire country. An executive order is, well, let me explain it this way. The president is like the CEO of a company. CEOs, they put out, well, CEOs, they direct their company to do certain things. They say, I'm directing my company to do this, and I'm directing my company to do that. That's what an executive order essentially is. And it's not a law because it is not something that affects Idaho, Utah, California. It is something that affects the executive branch only. It is the president saying, this is how we're going to conduct business within the executive branch. That is what an executive order is. It is not supposed to be a law. But President Obama thinks that it is the law of the land, and that is 100% unconstitutional. And frankly, it frightens me. You know, in 2012, our president signed an executive order to pretty much he signed an executive order that made the DREAM Act the law of the land. And for any of you out there that don't know what the DREAM Act was, it was basically an amnesty bill. All right, it was an amnesty bill. And back in, I want to say it was in 2009 is when the DREAM Act went into Congress. And Congress said no to the DREAM Act. Congress said, no, we're not doing this. And I want to remind you guys that it was a Democrat Congress at that time. So it was a Democrat Congress that rejected the DREAM Act. Well, in 2012, Obama signed an executive order that made the DREAM Act the law, even after Congress said no. The president is using executive orders to override Congress. That is 100% unconstitutional. Executive orders were never meant for that purpose. An executive order was never designed to violate the Constitution and to violate the separation of powers. Like I said, an executive order is the president directing the executive branch only. It doesn't affect the entire country. But that's not how things work in this administration. Obama has turned himself into a lawmaker, which is, anybody who's got any understanding of the Constitution knows that that is unconstitutional, that that is illegal. And frankly, it is the behavior of a dictator. That's where it's headed, and I think it's frightening. You know, the founding fathers, they established the separation of powers in the Constitution to prevent dictatorships. They understood that centralized power is a bad thing, that you cannot have power, all in one branch of government. You can't have all the power going to one man, because when all the power goes to one man, that leads to dictatorships, because absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's a fundamental truth. So the separation of powers was created to divide up that power, so it wasn't all going to one person, so that it isn't all going to the President of the United States. The Constitution said that the president cannot make laws. That's what the Constitution says. If any liberal wants to call up and argue with me about that, feel free. But the Constitution says what it says, and you cannot change that. So, President Obama, personally, I think at this point he needs to get impeached. He's violated the Constitution so many times, it's ridiculous. So, hopefully we get the Democrats out of the Senate this year and get some conservatives in there that will be willing to join forces with the House in impeaching Barack Obama and in repealing Obamacare. Because we have to get rid of Obamacare, guys. Obamacare is such a mess. I've never seen a bigger mess in my life. One of the one of the Democrats that helped write Obamacare went out there and said that Obamacare is going to be a train wreck. It wasn't a Republican that said that, it was a Democrat. Now, Republicans quote him all the time because he was one of the leading guys who made the law. You know, and it has been a train wreck. The rollout has been horrible, and I promise you, folks, it isn't getting any better. And even more people are going to lose their health care. You know, Obama sold Obamacare. The way he sold it is he said that we needed Obamacare to get more people insured. Well, do you guys know that less people are insured today than they were in 2008 when Obama got elected? There were more people who had health insurance when George W. Bush was president than those who have health insurance now. Less people have health insurance today under Obamacare. And that's because people are losing their health care plans. Even after the president said, if you like your health care, you can keep it. The president lied. Hello, welcome to the Ben Gregersen Show.
Hi, I've been trying to get a hold of you for a while, but your line was busy.
Oh. That's actually kind of strange because there hasn't been any other phone calls.
Oh, really? Well, I don't know what was wrong with it. Maybe I was doing it wrong. Right now, there's a buzzing coming in. Maybe it's on my line. But anyway, I wanted to just say Putin's getting his way no matter, no obstacles. He knows how weak Obama is, so why not, do whatever he wants. Then I'm pretty worried about America and where he's taking it. And when he said that he would fundamentally change, change America, that's what he said when he was running for office. It scared me then, and now I know why. See, he's running pretty rough shot on the Constitution in every way, and
yeah,
I'm worried about my grandkids and the kind of future that he's mapping out for them. So we got to get that guy out of there, along with these colleagues, Old Pelosi and Harry Reid, partners in crime.
Yep. Well, and Putin does know that Obama isn't an obstacle. In fact, Obama's given him a lot of flexibility, just like he promised.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, do you remember the START Treaty?
I'm not sure. Refresh me.
This was probably 3 years ago. Obama signed the START Treaty with Putin. And basically what that is that America reduced the size of their nuclear weapons arsenal,
yeah.
And they allowed Putin to increase his.
Yeah.
So Russia increased their nuclear weapons arsenal while we reduced ours.
Yeah, that was smart, wasn't it?
No.
Everything he does is just so smart.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a fundamental thing that Obama doesn't understand, and that's the fact that the only way to stop a bad guy with a nuclear weapon is a good guy with a nuclear weapon.
Yeah, that's true. But where are we on that? sounds to me like we've been, pretty well dwindled down.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be dwindling down our nuclear weapons arsenal and allowing our enemies to build theirs up.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
What kind of foreign policy is that?
Yeah, that's Obama policy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've got him. We're stuck with the guy for 2.5 more years or so. So, there's not much we can do about it except just try to get new people in.
Yeah.
That are going to just turn this whole thing around.
Absolutely. And, we got that chance this year. Well, we do, because right now we got kind of a weak, we got a weak Republican in the Congress, and his name is Mike Simpson.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have a backbone.
A bunch of weak ones. I'm getting disgusted with them.
There is a bunch of weak ones.
There is. They're not doing what they should be doing to, counteract all this stuff.
Nope. But we got an election this year, and we have a chance to primary them and get tough Republicans in there. Republicans that are actually willing to fight Barack Obama.
It seemed to me like Simpson was pretty good to start with, but they're in there too long.
Yeah.
Get in there, and pretty soon it just becomes commonplace. Nothing gets done.
Yeah. Well, I think Washington, D.C. is corrupting.
Yeah.
It corrupts a person when they're there too long.
Yeah, they get all these perks.
Yeah.
And then that makes it nice, and they get raises and all kinds of stuff. Pretty soon they don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And in order to stay, they have to, do favors, so.
Yeah. Well, that's why there needs to be term limits.
Yeah, that's true.
But the thing is, in a sense...
Haven't they always had them?
I don't know. Well, in a sense, we do have term limits, and it's called a primary.
Yeah.
The voters have a chance to end somebody's term.
Yeah.
So we're the term limit.
Yeah.
But I do think it would be a good idea to have...
Well, the problem is that trying to get this county, I don't know how it is anywhere else, but they don't get out and vote like they should. I mean, what's the ratio? It's not very darn good.
No, it isn't.
For the amount of people that are here, boy, it's disgusting.
Well, I'll tell you what, when my dad ran for city council, I think only 13% voted. I could be wrong. It might have been 30%, but it was low.
No, I think it was 13.
Yeah. But this last election, there was really high voter turnout with Mayor Blad.
Yeah.
People were excited to go out there and re-elect the mayor and to get, Brian Bray out of there.
Well, yeah, right.
Michael Orey beat him handily. And Gary Moore, he almost lost.
Yeah.
He was like within 100 votes of losing.
Yeah, well, that was pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, anyway, I'm glad to hear that it was up this time, but it sure hasn't been very good.
Yeah,
It's always better in a presidential election, but a lot of people don't go out when it's not presidential election. They just don't bother. Think it's not that important, but it is that important because that's what makes everything work, except it doesn't really help that much because Obama vetoes everything or uses his pen and his phone.
Yep. It's true. And that's what I was just talking about before you called, is that Obama has turned himself into a lawmaker. He thinks he's a lawmaker now.
Yeah, that's what he's trying to be. But that isn't what the Constitution is set up.
Nope, it isn't.
No, it's not.
Well, we have a chance to get new blood in Washington this year. We have a chance to send Brian Smith to Washington, D.C. instead of Mike Simpson.
Well, that'd probably be a good thing. What do you know about him?
I'm
just saying a good thing just because it's time for Simpson to move on. But I don't know that much about the other one.
Brian Smith is a constitutional conservative Republican.
Yeah.
And he's a businessman. He's created jobs in our area. He's been a lawyer before. I think that he's really, he's a qualified guy to go. And he isn't a weak-in-the-knees Republican like Mike Simpson is. Huh?
Do you know him personally?
No, but I hope I can meet him.
Yeah.
But I've read all about him, and I've looked at the issues and seen.
Does he live here in Pocatello?
No, I think he lives in Rexburg.
Hmm.
I could be wrong about that, but he lives a little ways away.
Too bad you can get him on your show.
I'd love to have him on my show.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Well,
give him an invitation.
Yeah, I'll have to.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that vote down here, So.
Yeah. Well, I've given an invitation to several people that I'd like to have come on my show, but they haven't said yet whether, they're going to or not, but they said that they wanted to, so hopefully I hear back from them,
Yeah, well, you need to just prod them a little bit.
Yeah. Get on my show.
Yeah, right. Come on.
I want to help you out here.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, good to talk to you.
All right. Well, have a good evening.
All right. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Well, she's a really nice lady. She's called my show before, and I really like it when she calls. Very, very nice lady. Anyways, you guys, let's send Brian Smith to Washington. Mike Simpson's been there too long. He's kind of a rhino. Actually, he is a rhino. He's voted to increase the debt ceiling just about every time that vote has come up. There were actually, this is where he stands on abortion, Mike Simpson. It says, even before going to Washington, Mike Simpson did not share Idaho values. While in the Idaho legislature, he opposed restrictions on abortion and said, quote, I have a tendency to lean toward the pro-side or the pro-choice side of the argument, end quote. Lewiston Morning Tribune, and that article was printed in 1991. And then it goes on with more information. It says that Mike Simpson is also a member of the pro-choice anti-conservative group Republican Main Street Partnership. See, you read stuff like that and you got to wonder, how Republican Mike Simpson really is. That's why we call these guys rhinos, Republicans in name only. Republicans are, their symbol is the elephant. And a rhino is something else. A rhino is not an elephant. So these guys are almost like their own brand of politician. They've gotten so far away from the values of the Republican Party that they're almost not even Republicans anymore. They're rhinos. They're no longer the elephants that they represent. There's other things on here. The TARP bailout. It says he voted for the massive $700 billion bailout of irresponsible banks. That was from an article that was printed in 2008. There's all kinds of stuff. Let's look at this. Gun control. This is Mike Simpson on gun control. It says in 1999 he supported mandatory trigger locks for new handgun purchases, despite the protests of his constituents. He also voted for mandatory background checks imposed on Idaho gun shows. RC number 244, June 18th, 1999. See, you hear this stuff and you got to wonder, it kind of makes me wonder about Mike Simpson a little bit. I don't think he's being very truthful when he goes around Pocatello telling everybody he's a conservative. Because if you look at his flyers and his pamphlet, they all say Mike Simpson, conservative, or conservative Mike Simpson. And he always puts the word conservative on there. And it almost, is almost to the point where you kind of don't believe he's a conservative because he's trying to push this idea so hard that he's a conservative.